Commander, I think I spotted an enemy hiding on our screen. Press the like button to kill him. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 496 for the 4th of July for the things that is happening over in Ukraine over the past 24 hours. Stop telling me this, you are late by one day. It's not late by one day. The whole point of a summary is you sum up what happened yesterday. So it's yesterday's date. So let's start off with the Southern Front. At the Southern Front over at the Antonovsky Bridge, just east of Kherson city, the Ukrainians returned back to Dachi as they tried to do amphibious operations and try to continue to hold this position, which is in my opinion pretty pointless. But they do it anyway. So according to Ryba, the pro-Russian source, they said that fighting continues on the island, and the Ukrainian troops are disembarking in the area of the destroyed bridge. And so the fighting now continues again. It is unclear if it is a matter of the Ukrainians never left at all, or is it that they had been chased out and then they landed again. This itself is not so clear. I will probably lean towards that the Ukrainians have not left at all, and that the claims by the Russian Defense Ministry and then Ryba might be premature. And but in the end, even if it is that they actually cleared out the Ukrainian forces once, it is not that difficult for the Ukrainian forces to land again, because the distance between the shores is really not that much. It's merely a kilometer. So the Ukrainian forces could easily land in the nighttime and then continue to be a problem in that location over at the Kherson region. And moving on to the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, there is fighting reported in the Kayamsky sector. So fighting now appears again over at the Pyatikaki region. This Pyatikaki, if the Ukrainian forces attack Zarybianki and from two different directions. So reports coming from Ryba reported that the Ukrainian forces attack from two different directions, one from the north and one from the east. So they attack from this side and through Pyatikaki, because Pyatikaki is basically a no man's land. No one actually positioned troops within the village. So the Ukrainian forces actually traveled through the town to attack on the road towards Zarybianki. This attack has failed as far as the report goes, and based on my sources on the ground, it didn't work out. So the offensive against Zarybianki failed, mainly because there is also a heavy entrenchment over here. So fighting still continues over at this area here. There is a column of Ukrainian forces spotted at Stemnokhursk. A columns of tanks and infantry fighting vehicle move south from Stemnokhursk. So the Ukrainian forces from this region is moving south towards Kayamsky. Most probably they are going to go towards this area to help out with the fighting to capture Zarybianki, to act as a kind of a forward operating base, if you put it away, because there isn't really much Russian entrenchment over at this in this area here. It's all further away, and so of course they give you give you a very beautiful place to enter. Yeah, so moving on to the Orikhiv sector. So this is Orikhiv. At the Orikhiv sector, the fighting continues north of Robotine. This is Robotine. Then fighting continues in the north of Robotine. The Vostok group of forces reported that the Ukrainians launched a recon attack. Reconnaissance in force attempt is just another word for an attack. It's just an attack, an assault. And the fightings, this is corroborated by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, which just says that the fighting is still ongoing over in this area here. Then there is Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Orekhiv. This is shot down by air defense, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Moving over at the Hoyapole sector, this is Hoyapole, the Ukrainian forces launched a recon operation near Mafopil. This is reported by the Vostok group of forces. They attack in this direction against Mafopil. Most likely didn't do much because it's a small force, I believe. Moving into the Velika Novosibirsk sector, this is Velika Novosibirsk, and there is a river here, in case you do not know. The Ukrainian forces continue their fighting in this area here, with fighting reported at towards Priotny, which is reportedly a sabotage group, which is a recon group or a probing force, and at Rivnopil, which is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry as an attack, as well as at Uruzhaine. This is also reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, reportedly repelled by artillery and heavy flamethrower system. So this is Rivnopil, Levatne, Priotne, Uruzhaine, Makarivka, Staromayoske. These are all the important landmarks in this front line, and with the Ukrainian forces attacking in this area here. So the idea is to capture Priotne, break through the lines, the Russian lines at the river, along the river here, and capture Uruzhaine. Then that will compromise Staromayoske, which the Russians have a very strong front line. Then they force the Russians to redraw. So anyway, this is the Velika Novosibirsk sector. Moving into the Donetsk Front. So Donetsk Front, this is Donetsk Front. This area here is Donetsk Front. Over at the Donetsk Front, we have fighting reported in the Voleda region. This is Voleda, and Ukrainian forces is reportedly attacking Mikhailske. And interesting information is that the Russian Defense Ministry also mentioned Uglesborosnaya, which is actually this railway station here, Uglesborosnaya. They say that it's nearby, but this distance is actually pretty far away, around 6 kilometers. So there might be a possibility, I'm not sure, but there might be a possibility that the Russian front lines might be actually a lot nearer to the road at Vodian than previously than we have indicated. The Russians did indeed come to around this area here once upon a time, and then since then allegedly has been pushed back. So we're not sure why they say they use this Uglesborosnaya. So anyway, we shall continue to monitor and see whether we have any more updates from any sources to clarify the front line. Ukrainians are definitely not acknowledging that the Russians are anywhere near here. As you can see, the Ukrainian front lines is pretty far away. It's actually all the way here. This wrong color. I should use this color. Yeah, it's all the way here. So the Ukrainian front lines is pretty far away. So we shall continue to monitor. And moving further up north, we at the Marinka region, there is fighting here, continuous fighting. This is like a tradition. Marinka is always fighting, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians are attacking, and Ryba, the pro-Russian source, corroborated, saying that the Russian forces have repelled counterattacks by the Ukrainian forces in recent weeks. So it's not indicating that the past 24 hours the Ukrainians counterattack. So the main thing is that the heavy fighting continues in Marinka. There is, however, a Sukhoi 25 shot down over Georgievka or Georgievka. Over here, this is Georgievka, and so pretty near with the Russian forces pushing over at Marinka. Maybe the planes are flying through to drop airstrikes, and just got caught by, I think this is Air Force, intercepted by Air Force, sorry, Air Defense Unit. So Russian Air Defense Unit shot down this Sukhoi 25. And that's all from the Donetsk Front. Moving into the north of Donetsk city, into the Avdiivka Front. This is Avdiivka city, the fortress city of Avdiivka. And Ukrainian forces launched a massive attack across the entire front on the southwestern part of Avdiivka city. Ukrainian forces attacked at Pervomaiske, Vodian, and Opitne. Information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, they reported Pervomaiske, Opitne, and Vodian. So these are the same information. The Russian lines have been slowly being pushed back over this area here, and we shall continue to monitor and see whether this offensive goes anywhere. This area is extremely heavily entrenched, so I'm not sure how far they can go. Over at the eastern part of Avdiivka city, the Russian forces continue their attack from the east, reported by Ukrainian Defense Ministry and as well as by Deep State UA, with the Russian forces continue to be attacking from the area of Kruta Balka towards Avdiivka. And moving further up north, there's nothing over there. There's no longer fighting in the north of Avdiivka city. Oh, there is a Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopter, a transport helicopter, shot down over Novgorodivka, Novgorodovka, in the Donetsk People's Republic, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, or the Donetsk Oblast if you are pro-Ukrainian. And moving into the New York front, we have no reports from the New York front. Moving into the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainian Bakhmut offensive continues in the north and the southern flank of Bakhmut city, with heavy fighting reported at Kodyomivka, according to the pro-Russian source Remlin 21. And that over at situation north of it, Klishchiivka, the Ukrainian forces continue their offensive against Klishchiivka. This information is reported by all sources, Russian Defense Ministry, Ukrainian Defense Ministry, as well as by Remlin 21, the pro-Russian source. This is also mentioned by Ryba as well, which I didn't indicate in the source. So the Ukrainian forces continue to try to attack and capture Klishchiivka, and this is the primary objective over at the southern front. And over in the northern front, sorry, not the southern front, southern flank. In the northern flank, the Ukrainian forces continue their attack towards Yakhidne. This fighting is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, and very interestingly, it's reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So in a very rare instance of admission, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that their soldiers are conducting offensive operations south and north of the city of Bakhmut and are gaining a foothold in the line's reach. So for the Ukrainians to actually make such claims, because usually the Ukrainian Defense Ministry do not talk about their offensive, for them to talk about an offensive over at the Bakhmut front, probably towards Yakhidne, as per reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, suggests that the Ukrainians are probably making some advances. And this comes also with information from Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reporting that the Russians are withdrawing from Kromove and Bakhivka. So in these two regions here, this is Bakhivka, this is Kromove, and reportedly the Russians are allegedly withdrawing from this area here. This information, however, is contradicted by Remlin 21, the pro-Russian source, saying that at the Bakhivka area, they say that the Russian forces actually pushed back the Ukrainians by half a kilometers, and the Ukrainians are not in the village. So it's very interesting. While there is some indications that the Russians might be, withdrawing from Bakhivka and also, from Kromove region, Remlin 21 said that the Russians are actually on the offensive and they actually push back the Ukrainians. So very unusual. And this unusualness comes at the same time with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians are attacking Bogdanivka. So the Russians are allegedly attacking Bogdanivka over here. So I'm not sure how to interpret this. It goes all over the place. So we shall continue to monitor and see how this goes. But the Remlin 21's information contradicted, which is why, and Remlin 21 is actually pretty credible. So far from the past 2 months or 3 months of using his information tends to always check out. So which is why it puts into doubts, about the claims that the Ukrainians are actually making advances, with even the Russians withdrawing from Kromove and Bakhivka, according to Deep State UA. So we shall continue to see, because Deep State UA at times they are constantly defending the information. They are fighting the information war on the behalf of the Ukrainian country. So as a result, sometimes they are not very forthcoming, and sometimes they can be very slow or withholding information. So we will continue to monitor and see if this is the case, if indeed the Russians actually withdraw from Bakhivka and Kromove, or did the Russians actually went on the offensive and push back the Ukrainians. I think this one we need to put some attention on it. There is a Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Krychorivka. This is also pretty unusual because we usually very seldom see Ukrainian shutdowns over at this region in the Bakhmut Front. Not very common. And over at the Orikovo-Vasilivka, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that the Ukrainians are on the offensive over at this region here. So, yeah, very complex situation over at the Bakhmut Front. If I draw all the arrows, you will see. So, Russians attack here, the Ukrainians attack here, and then attack here, here. So, yeah, let's see how this goes. Moving on into the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, there is no fighting reported in the southern part of Siversk Front. And over at Bilohorivka, the Russian Defense Ministry continues to report that the Ukrainians are on the attack over at Bilohorivka. And over at the Kreminna Front, this is Kreminna. At the Kreminna Front, the Russians continue their offensive within the Siversk forestry, the slow creeping push within the forest. Because the forest is heavily fortified and entrenched by the Ukrainians, so the progress are super slow within this forest. There is fighting reported south of Dibrova, and information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, and also, but then the Ukrainians say that the Russians are attacking, and the Russians say the Ukrainians are attacking. So not exactly sure who is attacking who. Over the Ukrainians also have an offensive action being repelled over at Yampolivka. So the Ukrainian forces at Yampolivka attack eastward against the Russian forces, repelled as well. And over at Novovodyan, Novovodyan is interesting. This fighting over at Novovodyan is corroborated by both the Russian Defense Ministry and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. What differs is that who is attacking. The Ukrainians say that the Russians are attacking west of Novovodyan and trying to eject the Ukrainians from their defensive position, and it did not work out. On the Russian side, they say that the Ukrainians are the one attacking, and the Ukrainians did not succeed. So yeah, not sure. But it's interesting that this fighting over Novovodyan is corroborated by both sides. So this fighting must be pretty, significant for both sides to be reporting on it at the same time. Over at the Svatove Front, we have fighting reported at Novosibirsk. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, saying that the Ukrainians attack in this area here. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry corroborated this information. However, they say that the Russians are attacking from the south of Novosibirsk. So perhaps the fightings are in the south, and rather be that is in the north, but because it's not indicated, I can't really tell. Over at the Kupyansk Front, we have no information of any fighting, not even probing at Sinkivka, which we usually talk about. This is Kupyansk, in case you guys do not know. So this Kupyansk, and that's all from the Kupyansk Front. There's nothing over at the Kharkiv Front, and that's it. There is a lot of cross-border shelling across the entire border between Russia and Ukraine, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry say that there is a lot of probing attacks, cross-border probing from the Russian side into the Ukrainian side of the border. However, they did not indicate any locations, and so we cannot really tell. So yeah, so we can only take it with a pinch of salt. And that's it for the summary. Do subscribe. Yesterday's appeal to people to stop drinking Bud Light and subscribe, the channel has failed largely on both channels. Only like 100 subs. So sad. So yeah, that people love their beer, can't be helped. I take the L here. Bud Light 1, DPA 0. And yeah, on that sad note, and I'll see you in the next update.